Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Copilot Compass, where each week we take a deep dive into Microsoft 365 Copilot. As always, I have the pleasure of being joined by my esteemed colleague, fellow Copilot enthusiast, and our resident smart guy, Logan.
Thanks, Grant. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Logan, why don't you tell the folks at home a little bit more about what they can expect in this week's episode?
Yeah, so as always, we're going to get started with our question of the week. And then we're getting into our topic, which is the Analyst Agent. So last week we went over Researcher, or sorry, 2 weeks ago we went over Researcher, but this week we're going to be going over the Analyst Agent. So it's another pre-built agent that's kind of built right into Copilot. Yeah, it should be interesting. And make sure you stay tuned to the end to get a sneak preview of what we have coming out next. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk a little bit about the Analyst Agent. We did cover the Researcher. We'll share a little bit about kind of the differences between those two, and then kind of what are the pros and cons of it versus just using you know, Copilot Chat. But yeah, let's jump right into it, shall we?
Cool, let's do it. Okay, let's get into our question of the week. And remember, you can submit your own question by leaving a comment on this video or by emailing the email address in the description. So this week, our question is, what's one workflow in your operations that Copilot completely transformed?
Workflow in your operations, Copilot. Yeah, that's a really good one. Boy, I've got like three that come to mind. One that I've touched on in a few different episodes, but I'd say preparing for an initial meeting with a new customer, vendor, supplier, whatever the case may be, making that kind of first contact where you want to go in with a little bit of background on, the company, the organization, what have they been in the news for, like those types of things. And boy, that process, I mean, I'd say if I'm really, trying to make sure I'm prepared for that meeting, used to take, I mean, a couple of hours, like you're trying to look through the company's website, maybe look through their LinkedIn material, try to just do a quick Google or Bing search about the company and look through news articles and stuff. And it's just so inefficient because you're like, at least half of that time, you're not looking at things that are actually going to be valuable enough to go in said report. So Copilot's really been a big help there. I know we showed the researcher agent last time. We've also experimented with building our own agents around this, and then simply just using Copilot Chat with some very specific prompting to build out a report on history of the company, background, what types of services or products do they have, how are they received by their customers, like all that information can be available in the course of like 10 minutes. So for me, I mean, that's been a huge game changer. Just getting, if I wanted to build a big report, then I'm getting a lot of time savings out of it. On the other hand, like even if I was just, maybe it's very much like a cold meeting, I just want to get like, a little bit of background, the 10 minutes that I used to spend, I'm almost getting nothing out of that 10 minutes. Whereas now I can spend that 10 minutes and build that huge report that I used to take me hours to build. So that's one. I think the other one that I'll share that's kind of immediately coming to mind is how I'm starting my day. So I used to, this one I've talked about a lot in presentations I've given, and then also in this forum before. But, I used to, when I wake up in the morning, kind of start my day, when I was going through my inbox, I was starting, kind of that last in, first out, first in, first out approach. So like I'm starting my day by looking at, what came in overnight and then kind of working up into the morning hours and stuff. And now I'm just going to Copilot and asking it to summarize the 10 most important emails in my inbox that have an action item for me, grabbing those 10 first so I can get out anything super urgent and then kind of work my way through the rest of my mailbox. So those are two that I mean are have truly been life changing, and each of those saves me, I mean, not just minutes, like hours per week, and helps me operate more efficiently. So yeah, Logan, what about you? What's some processes that have you changed with Copilot?
Yeah, one that really stands out to me is oftentimes I'll get like large Excel files with lots of data, and and asked to either perform some sort of formulas or
Right.
get some sort of data analysis out of it. And I would say that I'm a fairly experienced Excel user, but I'm not like an Excel wizard by any means. So a lot of times I would have to like do a little bit of googling, like how exactly do I do this, and like kind of mess around, maybe watch a YouTube video here or there. And now I just go straight to Copilot and I tell it what I want it to do, and it gets me like 90% of the way there. And honestly, it really just saves a ton of time. There's been times where I've spent like hours like going through YouTube videos and Microsoft documentation on Excel files and or on like Excel formulas and stuff. And I just don't have to do that anymore for the most part, at least. So yeah, I'd say that's like one of the biggest cases for me. Yeah.
No, there's definitely some good ones. I mean, I think we could go on this forever, but
Yeah.
I'm excited to talk about the analyst agent. So
Yeah.
let's jump into that.
Cool. Let's do it.
Okay, so the analyst agent. This is available to all of us with an M365 Copilot license. You access it in similar ways to the researcher agent that we covered in episode 28. Now, with analysts, there's a few different ways to access it. So the way we're going to access it in our Crow's Nest demo today is the same way that we accessed researcher in episode 28. You just go into either the Copilot app or copilot.microsoft.com, and then you see the agents pop up there. It'll have the analyst and researcher agent that are deployed to you by default with your M365 Copilot license, as well as any agents that you've built for yourself or that have been deployed for you through the organization you work for. You can also, at least it's our understanding, that Analyst is going to be available soon if it's not already in some other M365 apps. So you're going to see it right there in Excel, in Word, I believe, maybe PowerPoint, Outlook, maybe. Honestly, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I know that Microsoft has been public about rolling this out to additional areas so that you don't have to just only go to the agent itself. You can, build it right there in those data sets rather than having to upload the data set to the agent. Now, what does Analyst do? So it's going to do complex analysis of data sets. So one thing, like for me, when I first started to hear about this analyst agent, is I was thinking to myself, like, hey, aren't I already doing this in Copilot Chat? I've uploaded files and had it do some assessments for me or give me some insights, break down some data. Now, I think the simplest way of looking at this is that Copilot Chat experience is really good for simple, specific questions with specific prompts. The analyst agent is going to be a little bit more independent thinking. So it has a business context to it. So it knows that you're asking a business type of question. So it can tell, hey, this is a set of marketing data, or this is a set of a financial analysis or something like that. So it kind of knows how to speak those languages. Whereas Copilot Chat's really meant for anything. It could be, sports team data or whatever the case might be. So it again has a little bit more context there. The other big difference is the orchestration. Now, I know that, our audience, majority of you guys are non-technical in nature, but simplest way to put it, orchestration when it comes to an agent is really instructions on the order of steps the agent takes to get to an end result. So if it's like a multi-step, it's got to do several things along the way. Orchestration tells it to do those in that specific order. So if you do that in Copilot Chat, like let's say you upload kind of some messy data, it's like exported from a third-party system, it's not in a clean format. You may have to basically prompt Copilot Chat to say, clean up this data, analyze this data, generate this report. So it's multiple steps, very specific prompting along the way. The analyst agent thinks a little bit more logically and does a better job of orchestrating for itself and saying, like, you just upload that raw data and say, hey, perform this analysis. It can kind of orchestrate its way through those steps. So again, simplest way to look at it, analyst agent, really good for business, complex data and analysis, big data sets. Copilot Chat also works great if you're looking at very simple tasks or very specific tasks, very clean data, or if you're willing to spend the time doing several prompts to get to the end result. Now, the best analogy I could think of to kind of compare this and talk about that orchestration a little bit better is it's like telling my 6-year-old to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich versus telling, Logan to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Like Logan's the analyst agent in this context. My 6-year-old is Copilot Chat. Like my 6-year-old can make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but if I just tell him that's the only thing I say, I don't know what the heck he's going to do. Like I am going to have to tell him, hey, get out 2 slices of bread. On one of the slices of bread, spread some peanut butter. On the other slice of bread, spread some jelly, put them together. And then, he always likes them in squares. So I tell, I'm going to tell him cut it vertically this way, cut it sideways this way. And then there you go. Whereas Logan, he knows those steps. So he knows the orchestration. So that's kind of a good way of thinking about the differences between chat and analyst. So yeah, Analyst Agent's great. It can help you break down these complex data sets. We are going to show you today just a quick and easy example of how that Analyst Agent works. Before we get there, just want to share again, this is an M365 Copilot licensed experience that you have here. So this is not available to you if you don't have that license. The other thing is you basically can only do up to 25 requests between analyst and researcher per month. So it's not like if you're doing analyst all the time, that's not going to be a good solution. You're probably going to end up having to do like build your own agent around it. So again, you're kind of capped at that 25 mark. So with that, that's some background on those tools. Let's go ahead and jump right in and show what analyst looks like in real life. Okay, so here we are. We are in m365.cloud.microsoft/chat. So we're just kind of in Copilot here. You'll see, as I mentioned in the intro here, we've got agents, we've got the analyst and researcher. So I'm in the analyst agent. It's going to suggest some prompts with me, as Copilot always does. I'm going to start out by uploading a file here. Now, as I'm bringing this up, this is just some sample data. As in previous episodes, it's not big and complex. It's just some mock data we built up on 10 different marketing campaigns over the previous 3 months. The data in here includes the name of the campaigns, how many impressions that campaign got, clicks, conversion rates, the spend, and the date, and as well as the revenue that was achieved as a result of it. So it's just raw data. So a quick look at some of the marketing campaigns that we've run. Now, I am going to start out by just asking Copilot a simple question. So I'm going to say, calculate the ROI and cost per acquisition across campaigns. So it's big data set. It shouldn't say big. It's multiple campaigns. I'm not asking a specific campaign. I'm just saying, hey, give me this quick analysis. This is something, like I'm sitting in a meeting with our marketing team. I might ask them this exact question. This is, kind of your personal assistant here instead of having to bother somebody else. You'll start to notice one big difference here from the Copilot Chat experience of doing the same prompt. It's going to show you its work, just like the researcher agent we showed you a couple weeks ago. Kind of had these little check boxes with what it was doing and kind of how it's getting to its result. The analyst agent is going to do the same thing. And here's my analysis. So it's done it. It's got the campaign name. It's got the ROI. It's got the cost per acquisition. And oh boy, did it look like we really crushed the ROI. Yeah. All right. So it suggested some deeper visual comparison of these metrics or a deeper analysis. So it's saying, give me some examples here. I'm going to go ahead and ask it to, identify the best performing campaigns and why. Then not really great English there, but yeah, just, hey, do that analysis for me. This is again the difference where it's doing its own orchestration. I've just told it what the end result is. It's figuring out how to get to the end result. Whereas, with Copilot Chat, I'm probably going to have to multi-prompt my way to this result. One other point too is it's kind of doing its thinking that I forgot to mention in the intro is that the analyst agent is also intelligent in the sense that if you're doing the same analysis every month, like let's say I'm a data analyst within the marketing team, I'm getting this raw data every month and I'm always providing this type of reporting, or I always want to run this type of analysis, the analyst agent can save that. Whereas in Copilot Chat, if I had to do that, especially if I'm multi-prompting and having to get there, multiple steps, I'm going to have to save that in a OneNote or something and then copy and paste over those prompts. So you can still do it. It's just, this is a lot easier and faster and simpler. All right, so let's see what it came up with. So it's got 2 campaigns for us. It tells us why, and yeah, boy, if we had an ROI of 156,000 on a campaign, I think you and I could retire tomorrow. That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
please. Yeah. Oh boy.
All right, so now I might want to ask it something a little bit different here. Maybe I'm going to say suggest optimization strategies based on conversion trends. We'll see what it came up with here. We didn't give it a lot of complicated data. It doesn't know what these campaigns are. They're just numbered. See what analyst spins up for us here. May not have much for us, just given the data that it has. It's not a great question based on that data set, but you never know. For sake of a demo, we might as well try it. You can also see too, I think this is kind of cool, like it's saying coding and executing multiple steps along the way. So there's that orchestration in action. Okay, so yeah, all right, it did come up with some suggestions, and obviously it's not going to know like, hey, the the visuals you used for this geographical location in this campaign, like it's not going to give you that level of breakdown. But what the data it has, it does have some here, and you can see too that this is also a really good example of it knowing business context and language. So it's going to use acronyms like CPC, CR, CTR. You know, it knows that you're a marketer because you're asking it these questions. So it's going to speak marketing to you. So kind of breaks it down that way. So it does have some suggestions for us. So this is a good, good demo here for us to see how the analyst agent works. Again, really good for those complex tasks. If you have just a simple question on a basic Excel data set that's already pretty clean data, you're probably good to go to just use that kind of chat with your data experience in Excel or using Copilot Chat. But when you need that deeper breakdown, need more business context, Analyst Agent's here to help you out. In today's journey of the Copilot Compass, we took a look at the Analyst Agent. So we talked a little bit about what's the difference between Analyst and Copilot Chat and where and why you might want to use, one or the other. And then we showed you a quick and easy demo. We took a look at some marketing reports, like just some analysis of some marketing campaigns we run, mock data, showed you some examples there on how analysts can help you out with those efforts.
Yeah, analysts can definitely be, super useful for those of you who are, working with a lot of data. I know that's something I'm going to start using myself because, yeah, it seems like it can be a really strong tool, to help out with that data analysis. Yeah.
Yeah. And next week, we're gonna a little bit different. We're typically very user focused. If you're a bit more of I'd say not an advanced user, more like a 200 level Copilot user, and you've got access to Studio. You might be reaching the stage like Logan and I are, where we're starting to recognize some agents that we can build in Copilot Studio or using the Copilot Agent Builder. And you might want to share those out with your team or teammates that, especially if you've got multiple folks working on the same process, you find an agent that works for you, might be helpful for others as well, right? So one question we get asked a lot is, well, how much is it going to cost me to use it? So we'll take a look at a little bit deeper look in how agent metrics and consumption are measured, what factors influence those, and how you can assess, an estimate of based on usage, how much your agent's going to cost you from a consumption perspective.
Yeah. If you enjoyed the content today, please do us a favor and like, subscribe, and comment. And remember that we have our Q&A sessions every episode, so please give us your questions. And remember, new episodes are released weekly on Tuesdays.
Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.